This may be how most remember the cultural response to the Iron Lady. Spitting Image had her in a man's suit smoking a cigar. Ironically, stripped of her femininity at the time, her biggest cultural legacy may be as a trailblazer for women.
And more, much more than this, I did it my way.
Margaret Thatcher, who died today, known of course as the Iron Lady, she relished that tag. There were others that she might not have been quite so fond of. So we're going to take a look now at images that you may remember, because with me now is Steve Nallon. He's a British actor and impressionist, best known for impersonating Margaret Thatcher on Spitting Image, the television programme. We both looked at that and started giggling.
We did. I remember the very first show of Spitting Image. Her voice actually was in the clips you've been playing. It was very, very high in those days, much higher than it later became. But in those days, she hadn't quite become Margaret Thatcher. She, as her premiership lengthened, she sort of became a sort of version of herself, if that makes sense.
So as Gordon Rees was training her and coaching her and lowering her voice, you were following along?
Yes, we were following along, but you also had a situation with the miners' strike, the Falklands, and she became more regal, that famous line, "We are a grandmother." So she became a sort of, I didn't say it disrespectful, I don't mean this, but she became a comic creation. You know what I mean? If Evelyn Waugh had have written her as a comic character, people wouldn't have believed her, him. But that is what she was. From my point of view, she was a gift. She was just a wonderful character to do, because she had such a varied personality, and what I tried to do was put that across in the voice.
Did you, Steve, ever get any feedback about what she thought? I doubt that she had time to watch television, but
no,
did she think about this?
We were told that she stopped a cabinet minister at the end of a cabinet meeting and said, "Don't watch Spitting Image, it will only upset you." Now, whether or not this was true or not, we don't know.
We know she only needed 3 hours sleep, so she could have been watching.
Maybe she watched it. So John Selwyn Gummer, one of her cabinet ministers, told me that he said that what I did, because I also did a dressed up and so on, was actually make her funny, allow people to laugh at her. I always thought perhaps I was doing her a disservice. He felt that I was actually doing her a service by doing that. But, well, you know, you allow people to laugh at you, that's a good thing.
Well, Steve Nallon, thank you very much for reminding us that Margaret Thatcher, as comic creation as well as powerful Prime Minister, was very much a figure that defined the age.
Man, for God's sake!
But in the 80s, it was Margaret Thatcher's Spitting Image puppet which became familiar to millions.
Is this true?
The voice itself is actually very easy to do. There are some voices that are technically very difficult to achieve. And Widdicombe is very difficult to achieve. You've got two notes going on at the same time. But Margaret Thatcher for me it just has a slight crack in the voice when it was higher, because I started doing it when my voice broke. So I still had that sort of husky higher bit going on there.
Rubbish!
The fascinating thing, you know, about the voice was how lively it was and how good she was in interview. But then, of course, she had the marvellous technique of stopping and then suddenly turning on the person she was being interviewed by. And if anybody ever made a mistake, used an awkward phrase, she'd jump on it. She'd jump on it straight away. Politicians tend not to do that anymore. It's all a bit homogenised now.
She was a polarising figure, loved and loathed, larger than life. But for satirists and cartoonists, that's often the best way.